Welcome back to the Rugby Paper Podcast as we turn our attention back to the Gallagher Premiership. We are now 3 rounds in and it's a familiar leader that sits atop the table in Saracens, who are currently 3 wins out of 3. Joining us today to discuss the contrasting misfortunes of the winless Exeter Chiefs is their record try scorer, Olly Woodburn. Turning our attention back to the Gallagher Premiership, we are now 3 rounds in. We haven't really discussed any of them because obviously we had that Argentina win over the Springboks. So I called in Marcelo Bosch to come on and discuss that with us. And then we had Storm Campese join us last week to talk about Joe Schmidt. So do tune back in if you missed those. As a very exciting aside, the Rugby Paper is working on its very first ever live episode, which currently is pipelined, and I say pipelined just because it's not confirmed yet, for November 16th in Southwest London. So that and David Campese will be there as well. Just a little early plug to discuss at a later date, but wanted to make it aware to all of you. Let's turn our attention to the Gallagher Premiership. We expressed our concerns about the new Saracens era, saying that we weren't sure whether they would struggle this year. They sit top. They're unbeaten. After last week's full house and deep dive into Australian rugby, today's a more intimate affair with just myself and Chewy from the Rugby Paper podcast side. From the special guest side of things, we are very excited to be joined by Exeter Chief wing and now outside centre as well. Although you always were an outside centre, weren't you, Ollie?
Yeah,
Olly Woodburn at
thank you
heart.
for having me. Yeah, heart, my roots.
Are you're reconnecting with both your heart and your roots by the sounds of things then?
Yeah, really, a bit of a throwback. I played outside centre up until I was 18 when I joined Bath, and then there weren't many wingers at the time, so I tried to get some game time. So I played a bit on the wing, and then didn't look back, and now coming full circle.
You're
Part of
in
me
good
what
company,
sorry,
Ollie.
go on.
You're in good company. Tano Manga made a similar journey,
Oh, yes, I
as
was.
did Philippe Sella.
Yes, yeah.
Um,
Well, I watched Tanu Manga's highlights before Sunday's game, actually. What some inspiration.
uh,
So yeah, there's a little bit of I
Great
grew up
shout.
with,
I
yeah.
saw I saw him win a game on his own for the All Blacks against England at Twickenham when the
Wow.
All Blacks had, I don't know, 2, 3 in the bin simultaneously.
Okay.
It was when Tana was captain. I mean, he wasn't the prettiest player ever, but crikey, when he had it on him, he took a bit of getting past, basically. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
defensive masterclass, extraordinary,
Yeah,
great.
and Nonu took the reins after him quite seamlessly as well. So those two were just
Yeah,
monsters.
yeah, exactly. I can imagine dreadlocks would suit you. I don't know whether you have the capabilities of pulling that off, Ollie.
Mother Nature said, no.
Don't worry, you and me both. Look, obviously, well, I wonder if it's quite a conventional route. I mean, I know Caden Murley did the same thing at Harlequins, for example, where he played 13 in, at academy level, then obviously moved out to the wing. And later on in his career, we might see him do the same. Do you think it's partly a size thing? I mean, I don't know whether you're obviously, you've always been quite a big guy who has that power in the carry, whether that helped you at Bath as a 13. Then obviously everyone catches up a little bit, or also a game intelligence thing. 13 for many is the hardest defensive position in the back line. And you may disagree with that, having sort of fit in so seamlessly so far this season. But yeah, what do you make of that little analysis?
Probably a bit of everything. There's a lot more responsibility, and historically, the wing is it doesn't have too much responsibility. It's a difficult position to play at this level, especially with defenses and high ball skills coming in. Um, but it's you're always in the picture. You're defending forwards as well as backs as often as each other, I'd say. And coaches want to feel trust in someone in that position. There's also the handling area where you have to play set piece. So there's just a lot of skill sets which sometimes don't coaches don't see if you play on the wing. So some people get pigeonholed, I guess. But yeah, it's a very challenging position, and I'm really enjoying trying to step up and yeah, put my foot in the door for that role.
Yeah, because I suppose you're running me to down, but you speak about different skill sets. I mean, the 2 tries you guys scored at the weekend, you obviously, the handling, from the kick and the rebound through to begin with, and then the offload in the second half as well. So is it nice to sort of, well, have the opportunity to display that sort of that side of your game whereby you might not have it on the wing to the same extent?
Yeah, the way I've played the game, I've always enjoyed um, doing assists as well as scoring tries. I always like that last pass to put one of your teammates away. So the ability to get my hands on the ball and do that more, especially with the kind of the pace we have at the moment with Josh Hodge and Manny around me, it's nice to be that link player. And on the contrary, did you say you run less meters outside Sunday? Because
Yeah.
actually ran more than I used
Okay.
to,
Interesting.
Yeah,
which
we're noted for our research on this podcast, Ollie,
yeah.
and we're
No, I thought the same. I was like, okay, I can. It won't be as many meters, but actually, Leicester and Northampton, my first two games, were my most meters I've ran in few years. Maybe I'll
Okay.
headless chicken, and maybe it'll come down once I know what I'm doing. But it's very intense. You're doing a lot of meters just going up and down.
Yeah, yeah.
there,
Oh,
there used
that's
there
very
used to be
interesting.
quite a big split actually between the and southern hemispheres in the perception of the different roles of 12 and 13. So back in the day, and this comes from an old git like me, but back in the day, the All Blacks would always have what they called a second 5/8, basically a second fly half,
Mm,
and a big strong runner at 13. So your Frank Bunces and your Bill Osbornes and Joe Stanleys and those guys. The Wallabies did a lot the same, even as recently as 2015 World Cup. They had Matt Giteau at 12 and somebody like Kurindrani at 13, who was a power runner. But up north, tended often to do it the other way. The big basher at 12 and somebody a bit more creative at 13. I don't know if you think that that's just past tense now and the game has become much more organic, or whether there's still something in that, those division of responsibilities.
I think there's always going to be a bit of the old school. I think, but a lot of teams in the Premiership have different ways of attack, different philosophies. If you look at Leicester, they've got two powerhouses in the centre. They're difficult to stop. And then you look at us, we've got Joe Hawkins, is very skillful. He can kick, he can pass. He's covering 10 a lot of the times. And myself outside him, more of a winger, more of a natural winger. So it's attack philosophy. It's quite a yeah. I guess it's not really set in stone your role. So it's definitely down to creativity. And some coaches like just your one route with your 12, or some people like to give their players more responsibility. It's quite an interesting position.
I suppose it also depends on what talent you have in the squad. I mean,
Yeah.
we've had the years of Nonu and Conrad Smith down in New Zealand, and now you suddenly got Geordie Barrett, who Ollie will, I'm sure, will tell you I love to bits because he's just seems to have such a broad range, such a massive scope in skills. And then you have a Rico at 13 who can really cause some damage with a little bit of space. So there's still a little bit out flying around, but it just depends who you've got available.
Yeah, if you got someone in form, there's so many different scenarios you find yourself in the center. That if you've got a player who's just skillful in many positions, many areas, and you can account for things that you can't coach for, can't plan for, then the coach is just going to throw them in. So yeah, it's a fun position. Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Mm. What happens when Henry Slater in?
I don't know. I'm hoping to get his contract really. That'd be nice.
I mean, a lot of us back in the day thought he was a natural 12 because Steenson was around and was pretty much cemented in the side. But Sam Hill was there, and Rob decided that Sam Hill was that guy who was gonna truck it up a lot for you and give Henry Slade, I guess, more scope in different areas of the field to show some skills. I don't know how it works in Exeter, but it's slightly different balance now, isn't it?
Yeah, Henry will be in the team. Um, I'm sure he'll like to play 13. He's very good defensively at 13. He reads the game well, and he's a vocal leader. So he'll be in the team. And then, but I think I've just given the coaches a bit freedom. In the past, they don't really. take wings on the bench. So for me, it's really allowed me to, even if there's some discussion over um, selection, that could keep me in the team more often, just because I don't have to just play wing. I can play wing, or if someone gets injured, I can cover centre. So hopefully, on the field, it could be a bit more liquid. I mean, we can have whatever number is on our back, but in phase, in the run of play, we can just step up and just do what the best role for the team is.
Total rugby.
Yeah, that's it. I'm a rugby player. I'm not a centre. I'm not a
Yeah.
winger.
You're not a number. You are not a number.
Oh,
Before we start talking about Exeter as a team, and obviously the start of the season that you've had, I actually wanted to ask about a personal milestone. Do you know how many tries you've scored for Exeter, Ollie?
they did it. They announced it in terms of points the other day. They said 300 points. So six.
Right. Okay, so 60.
Massive.
I am right in saying you've overtaken Sam Simmons now then as Exeter's highest ever try scorer.
They didn't say that. I'd have liked to
Oh.
get into.
So the way I understand it, and like I said, I can't currently verify because my bloody keyboard's broken. Shout out Apple. Um, Sam Simmons was on 56, and you've now gone past that. So if I'm making you aware of that for the first time, was that a record that you knew you were getting close to?
I knew I was close because when Simmer was playing with us, they always put the out, and I was always below him. So I was like, yeah, I'm close. But no, I didn't know. I don't know if I'd overtaken him. I wasn't sure, but I knew I was in and around it.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it your guess that you've covered more meters than Sam Simmons for
Oh
your
yes,
tries?
my tries are from way further out. His are from like 6 inches out almost. He's got some good ones.
Well, I mean, I tell you what, Exeter number eights have a habit of, being tried. Thomas Waldrom had that one season where he scored seemingly 30 tries or so, all from about 6 inches out. So it must be some sort of either lucky number or part of the Exeter system that feeds into it.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, they put a lot of emphasis on the number eights, but yeah, Waldrum just had a nose for the line. He was just like a truffle, just straight in. He would just shove players out of the way so he could get on the ball, and he would avoid clearing out when we were line just so he could get on the ball. He was different, and then Sam Simmons learned from him. I think. I mean, Sam Simmons would have been a great player nonetheless, but I think watching how Waldron scored tries definitely helped him.
There
Yeah.
must be whole generations of Exeter hookers who hate Thomas Waldron
Yeah,
because
yeah, I'm sure.
he just smashed them to one side.
I'm sure Luke Dickey's got something to say about it.
Oh dear. Look, let's talk about the start to the season. I don't know, well, hopefully to as a rebuttal to Chewy's insult about my research. Obviously three defeats from three. Exeter's you've lost your first two games twice in a season before now. One of them was the year that you ended up winning it. So obviously, this is it was maybe a positive or could be construed as a positive omen beforehand. Now it maybe doesn't necessarily have that flavor. What is your overall assessment? Obviously, the attacking rugby has come together at times.
Mm.
Um, Probably hasn't been the start you would have wanted ideally.
No, at least I mean we've got 2 points, so it's not the worst start, but it's definitely not what we expected from ourselves. We put a really good marker down last season. We got some young talent. We've got direction. We've got ambition, and we started the season a bit immaturely. I'd say we kind of looked good in places for like small chunks of the game, but we haven't put a 80-minute performance together. We haven't looked like a dominant team for the whole game. So yeah, we're still ambitious. I think that the the point you made that in the past we've started like this and come good has softened it a bit. We've got a
Yeah.
history of being underdogs, and I think that works in our favor. So we're not panicking. We know we're a good team. We've got good quality. So we're just biding our time and making sure we're gonna play play every game to our fullest ability.
Yeah.
Given the new look to your side last season, I thought that was a pretty astonishing effort actually by Exeter last year, because at the start of the campaign, you looked down that team sheet and there'd been major surgery performed on that team.
Yeah, yeah.
And you were what, a win away from top. Well, I mean, things from memory, things went just a little bit wrong for you in the last couple of games of the regular season. Is that right? But you were right in the mix, weren't you?
Yeah, if the results went our way in the last game of the season, we would have made the
You
playoffs.
could have made
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think it's difficult. We got some players who can come into the game, come into the team with no expectations, and then expectations have been put on us, and then sometimes it's harder to play, without expectation, isn't it? So I think that's what we're dealing with. A lot of players have been given a lot more responsibility, and we're just kind of figuring it out. We haven't changed too much in our team, so it's all there for us. We put some incredible performances in last year, beating some incredible teams. So we're just fine tuning things this week, and yeah, looking forward to having a home game as well, just to get us back on track.
You see, it's almost a bit of second season syndrome, because if you're two-thirds of a new side, you're going to take opposition by surprise a little bit, because they're not going to know quite as much about you as they would have known about the Exeter side that won the Champions Cup, for example, which had become very familiar. So it might take you, I guess, a month or so just to really sort of rediscover your feet and just make those little adjustments, which means the opposition don't see what's coming in the way that they didn't last year. I mean, you there was some surprising results last year in your favour. I thought it was a tremendous effort, and a big feather in the coaches' caps as well, because there were some brave selections there.
Yeah, I do think people underestimated us last year.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of underestimating ourselves this year. We're kind of not really living up to the ambitious highs the Exeter Chiefs team has done in the past. I don't think we're quite looking at that and believing, or at least our actions aren't saying so. So, but I'm excited I'm excited every weekend. I'm going into every team, every game, looking at the players I've got in the change room, and I'm excited. And I'm not expecting to go into contact and not trust my boys to go with me. And I'm excited, especially this weekend against Bristol, kind of a West Country derby. It's yeah, it's something we'll get our teeth stuck into.
Talk a little bit about the end of last season. Again, if memory serves me rightly, it was Leicester Tigers, wasn't it? That final game, and I remember previewing it on this podcast, and we did a selection of the teams we thought would make the top four. Obviously, at the time, Northampton and Bath were guaranteed. Northampton were guaranteed top spot. Bath were guaranteed a top four spot. I think Saracens were, but that fourth spot was up for grabs, and all four of us obviously thought that Exeter would
Mm.
get the job done against Tigers, or all five of us, I think it was. No, we had Jordan Crane on, the Bristol defence coach. I think he backed his team. But anyway, talk about that day and how you've had to sort of either channel the energy and the emotion from that day into this new season, or just responded to it and the impact it has had on the squad.
Um, I personally, I moved on from that game pretty quickly. I think that it was quite a strange game. We went on with so much expectation, and then they kind of Leicester. They didn't have anything to play for, did they?
No.
They were just the party poopers, and they had this kind of. They were in the game within 20 minutes, got a few quick scores, and then had a huge home crowd for the end of the season, and then they just kind of rode the momentum home when we couldn't stop the bleeding. But I don't know. I was from a personal point of view. I that season was a success for me. I started with a really nasty injury. I came back and I played some good game time, and then I put a lot of effort into that. So I was quite happy to I put a lot of effort into a game and into a season. I'm quite happy to say, okay, let's move on, look forward. And that's what I tried to do personally. And then I haven't really thought too much about Leicester last season. They got a new coach. I expected to win against Leicester, and we were so close. Actually, we just kind of Took I don't know what happened in the last 10, 20 minutes. We just didn't control the game. We didn't. Yeah, I think that was an immature performance. I'd say we literally had them in the bag and then just took a foot off pedal. But no, I try and treat every season with new motivations or kind of try goal set and then just not try and look too much in the past and just look forward really.
Clive Woodward always used to talk during his England days. Always used to talk about energy givers and energy sappers, and he wanted a team of energy givers, and there's a bit of coach speak around that, but I could sort of see what he was getting at. And your performances in an Exeter shirt always seem to be very high octane, very high on energy. Nothing to lost cause, all that kind of stuff. But now that you've got the kind of lineup there that you have, and you're one of the longest serving players, do you carry more responsibility as well?
Yeah, definitely this year. I've always kind of been quite introverted and I want to do my role as best as possible, but I'm not like big in team talks. I'm not one of those shouters or energy givers. I'm not. I don't sat, but I'm just like I'll do my role. I'll bring actions speak louder than words. But as the senior players start leaving, you look around the room and you're like the third oldest, and people start looking to you.
Well,
And
you
I,
don't want to be told what to do by an 8-year-old anyway, do you?
uh, they got to listen. But yeah, the coaches have they've given me more responsibility. So I'm I'm a defense captain, so I have to kind of address the boys in huddles and a couple of meetings during the week and pre-game, and that's something I've never done before. So
Does
that's
that go with the 13 position specifically, Ollie, or is it you as a player that they've asked to do that?
it was me as a player because I did it. I started it in pre-season, and
Okay. Yeah.
and then 5 minutes into the first Prem game, I went into 13. But it was a lack of because it was usually Henry for the backs, and he would do the defensive talks, and then Omar, our defense coach, asked me if I wanted to do it. I said yes, not really wanting to be honest. But it was, I didn't want to like shy away from the opportunity, kind of put myself in a bit of discomfort. And I think it's benefited me. I've had to pay attention more in meetings and listen to points so I can translate them to the players more, rather than just focusing on my job. I've got to kind of broaden my horizons and pay attention to things I wouldn't usually do. And although it's probably not as comfortable, it's not as easy, and takes a bit more time during the week, it's benefiting my game.
Yeah. But you're still naturally the quiet bloke you've described to us. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you've not turned into a Saracen all of a sudden, have you?
no,
I mean, all that shouting,
no.
hollering, and screeching. I mean, I don't know how they got enough breath to run around, really. They do kick up a racket, don't they?
Yes, yeah, I don't want to talk too much about it.
I won't push you any
It's not my style.
Talk a little bit then about that senior role. I mean, Manny or Emmanuel Faye Waboso is probably a name that you've been asked about a little bit, and I apologise to add to that list of questioners. But someone like him comes into the team and has the impact he's had with Exeter initially, but internationally he took to an England shirt like a duck to water. How have you been involved in, mentoring him a little bit, obviously playing in the same position, having been in his shoes X number of years ago? Um, what's your role been in there? And he's obviously, he's a bright lad still studying alongside.
Yeah, I take full credit. He wouldn't be where he is without me.
Yeah.
Nah, he's a star, really, isn't he? He's got charisma and he's got talent and ridiculous athleticism. What was my role? I don't know. I feel like, as I said, he probably looked at my game and I was playing a lot of rugby when he first came in and played a lot with him. I'd say we talk about aerial skills, kind of high ball skills, and I think I've given him some pointers there and hopefully giving him some confidence. But I don't know. I haven't really spoken too much about him. I just back him. Love playing with him. He's definitely an energy giver, And yeah, he's it's good to have someone like Manny in the sport. He does a lot off the field, works very hard. He's obviously a medical student. He's yeah, it's great to see someone like that for the next generation. He's a good role model. So I'm very happy for his success. And if I played a small part, then I'm more the happier.
Is he as quick as he looks?
He's as quick as he looks. He's not the fastest in the team. I'll say that.
Uh,
That's,
I have a
that's
guess as to who
interesting.
it is.
I once had a discussion with Charlie Sharples, trying to work out if who was quicker between him and Johnny May, because
Yeah.
and he wouldn't say, and I couldn't work out whether he wouldn't say because he always lost or
Mm.
because he was being too modest. So does that make you the quickest in the team?
Yeah.
Excellent, we got there.
Me first. Do you know what? So Manny's probably the quickest over 10.
Yeah.
Well, so was Gareth Chilcott.
Then five.
Yeah, 10 pints or 10 burgers or 10 meters.
Um,
Um, that's
Manny's,
what I was going to say. He's an acceleration merchant, isn't he?
Hodgie's probably got fastest top end,
Yeah.
and I need to see Paul Brown Lampo race as well. So yeah, we got some speedsters.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, where do you rank? You must be top five still.
Yeah, top five, of course.
Okay.
I
Okay.
got
But just,
I got an excuse. So when I was 21, I ruptured my Achilles, and before
yeah.
that, I would have beaten them all. But since then, I lost half a step.
Okay. All right. Did you have 100 time before you ruptured your Achilles?
No, we had GPS back then.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think it was like 37 kilometers, like 37.1 or something like that.
Yeah.
And but since then, I haven't been able to top that. So I'm a
I
bit.
mean, I tell you what, Exeter you must be sort of used to competition for places on the wing because I mean, Jack Knoll, Tom O'Flaherty, Alex Cuthberts, and now the names we've mentioned as well. I guess is it just something you're used to now and you embrace, or is that still you're thinking, God, I wish, I wish my spot was a little bit more certain, or you knew which shirt you were going to be wearing every week.
Now there's been some tough times. There was a there was a year I can't remember what the year it was. Maybe 2019. We had Santiago Cordero, Tom O'Flaherty,
Of course. Yeah, I forgot about him.
Alex Cuthbert, um, Jack Knoll, and myself. And we had two really good 15s as well. We had Phil Dolman and I think Lockie Turner as well, and Hoggy.
Yeah, I was going to say this was like,
Like, if like there was so much pressure to play well every game, and not even play well, just to play like incredibly well every game. And I missed out a few times, and it hurt. And I think it came around quick. You just can't take it for granted. So whenever every time you get a chance to play well, you have to take it. Even with these youngsters, even if it's raw talent, the coaches like that raw talent. So don't take your position if you're playing Premiership rugby for granted.
yeah.
As someone's always trying to take that shirt.
Do you find you?
How did the
Sorry, go on,
coaches
Joey.
how did the coaches handle that at Exeter? I mean, crikey, I mean, I know how Eddie Jones would have handled that kind of situation. I mean, he would have oozed sympathy for everyone who couldn't quite get in the side because they weren't playing quite well enough. But I'm just wondering if you had a batch of wide players that you've just gone through, is are people like Rob and Ali Heifer really good at keeping you up about things? I don't know how they deal with it internally, actually. I mean, Rob always seems an incredibly bright bloke with lots of clarity and all that kind of thing whenever he appears on the TV or in interviews we've done in the past. But can you give us some kind of insight as to in squad management how good they are at it?
So when it comes to selection, the team will be um, emailed out in an evening at the start of the week so we can train with the team,
Sure.
do all the set piece. And usually, if there's on a short week, it's a bit different, like we are this week. But it usually gives the guys, if they're rotated out of the squad, give them a phone call to let them know, and then that's your opportunity to kind of fight a case. Although no one's ever changed his mind, the team's a team. He's obviously just calling you. But that's yeah, I mean, he'll give you his reasons. But there's no like they won't kind of talk to you about it in a kind of like and like can lift your mental state. They'll just you've got a marker to hit. You're not selected for the reasons, so you've got to kind of hit those markers, and um, it's just a job. At the end of the day, you've got to hit these markers, and if you aren't in the team at the moment, you just got to work hard and train hard. That's probably the kind of the standard thing you get told is you just got to train better. Like you're not on the team right now. Let's see it in training. Um, and then yeah, it's a difficult place to be. I've been there many times, and you do just have to work hard. Maybe you won't see the pitch again for months or weeks.
Yeah.
Um, but you just got to keep working at it, keep a chip on your shoulder, and use it to motivate you.
Well, Rob's a farmer. He's not going to soft soap anyone, is he, in the end?
Yeah,
I
that's
suppose.
it.
It's just occurred to me that the farming background probably gives him a certain cast of mind.
Yeah, there's no, you won't get like any like affection or a plan. No, it's very straight up and down. I think Rob probably had he went from a player at Exeter to a coach quite quickly, and I think it must have been quite difficult
It's hard.
to have selection, especially with friends. So he
Yeah.
probably I don't know. It probably learned to kind of manage it take a step back from it from an investment of yourself point of view. And it must be hard. If and he does care for the players in his own way,
Mm.
so it must be difficult. And he's been there, but obviously you can't. In when you're being dropped, you don't think like that. You're thinking he hates me, don't I hate you, all this stuff. But you invest so much time and energy into it. Selection is always going to be such a difficult issue.
I'm really enjoying this conversation, and I don't want to obviously taper it too much. Ollie, I know I promised you 40 minutes. I wondered whether I do want to preview the Bristol game and talk about that a little bit. I wonder if we whiz through your random rugby 15 very quickly, the 15 quick fire questions.
Yeah.
Um, let's do that, and then we can talk about Bristol. Nickname.
Nickname. Well, no one gets called their first name, so I get called Woody.
Yeah.
But well, talking about selection, actually, Rob puts in an email your name and selection, and he for a couple of times when I first arrived at the club put Mark Woodman because he played with a winger called Mark Woodman. So that became my new name. That's yeah, that's one of my nicknames. It's
That makes you feel better about yourself, doesn't it?
that happened like 7 years ago. So people from that era called me Woodman, and then there's new guys in call me Woodman now, and they don't even know why. So they'll be calling me Woodman. I was like, do you even know why they call me Woodman? No. Yeah, I don't know. There's way worse nicknames. So
Did,
I'm
presumably Rob did that as a joke. It wasn't him just being
well, you
conflating the two.
found it funny, so I don't know.
I mean, it is funny, but I don't know if it's funny because of the error or because of, I don't know, Rob backs the humor.
It's funny the first time. When he did the second time, I don't know.
Best rugby memory.
My best rugby memory is the 2017 Premiership, the first time we won it.
Yeah,
It's a very special moment. We won the Premiership twice, but that time it was the first time, and it was a packed Twickenham crowd in the sunshine. The second time we won it was pouring rain, and it was an empty stadium in COVID. Um,
slightly different.
so yeah, that year was 2017 all round for me. It was just a great year. So yeah, that was good times.
Most embarrassing rugby memory.
My most embarrassing rugby memory which sparked a big change in me. But I was playing on the wing for Bath, 2011 it must be. High ball went up and I was running back to catch the ball. I was quite inexperienced on the wing for high balls. The fullback Jack Cuthbert was coming forward. We ran into each other, fell over. The ball bounced into Ugo Monya's hands and he scored a try. Um, So that was embarrassing. And I said after that day, I'm never gonna drop a high ball. So a lot embarrassing.
And Monya's built an entire career on the strength of that.
Yeah, that was again. I take credit from Manny's
Hey.
career and Hugo Monya's career.
Yeah, yeah. The checks are not in the post.
Pre-game tune.
um, it varies, but was always in my playlist is "Stairway to Heaven" by Led Zeppelin.
Nice. Old school.
God, you're the
I like
first
it.
person to name a tune I've actually heard of.
I like dad rock, if you can call it.
I saw Led Zeppelin play that live. Earl's Court, 1975.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Yeah, Robert Plant forgot the lyrics.
Wow.
You probably didn't need to sing them though. You love
Just
singing.
thought I just thought I'd
Yeah,
mention it.
exactly. No, exactly. So all you heard in the crowd was Chewy singing them.
Well,
He's never been back to a concert since.
this is my favorite podcast ever, just because I don't sound like a completely old fart saying, "Who the hell
That makes
is
me sound like an old fart.
who that I don't care about."
Best play. Sorry, post-game meal. I'm jumping ahead.
I like a nice steak dinner, like nice rich protein, bit of red wine
Strong.
as well,
Which cut of steak?
ribeye.
Ribeye, man. Good. Bit more volume.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. Best player you've played against?
Um, Antoine Dupont.
Believe it or not, we've had that answer once or twice. Best player.
Overrated.
I'll do something different. So prime Rocket Daguni.
Nice.
Rocket Daguni was
That
impossible to defend.
awesome. That's an answer we haven't had before. Best player you've played with?
Um, I I played with some incredible players. I'll say someone you probably haven't heard is Carl Eastman.
Oh,
Nice.
That year, the last year I was at Bath, we got to the Prem final, and he was just so skilled on the ball. He didn't probably reach the heights that everyone expected, but his vision, his skills, he was such a unique player. I'm very happy to have played with him.
This is
was
maybe
that the
a
Saracens final?
Yeah, Bath, Sarries.
Yeah, that was when Farrell put Anthony Watson off the field. I remember that.
this is maybe a
Wait,
very simplistic question to ask, but say Carl Eastman, he was obviously quite a small centre. Say he was a little bit bigger. Do you think that would have potentially made him a 50 plus capper for England, or could have?
Yeah, if he had that the same ability and thought speed of thought, and he was a bit taller, a bit heavier, then it's definitely not gonna
there
Yeah,
were
happen. Yeah, hundred
there were
percent.
moments where he looked $1 million, man.
yeah.
He looked a very good player. Yeah, fair play.
Where are we? Favorite player right now? Don't say Antoine Dupont.
Yeah.
Or Thomas Waldron.
He's retired. Oh, it's hard to say, not say him, isn't it? I can't. I'm going to say Antoine Dupont. I just he's my favorite player to watch.
Fair enough. Favorite stadium?
Um, the best stadium I played in terms of volume, I can't remember the name, but it was in Bordeaux. It was 2 years ago. And we played the semi-final against Bordeaux, but they used the football stadium. I can't remember the name, but
Oh, was that the Stade Lascaux?
sorry, we played against La Rochelle, and it was in Bordeaux, and it was obviously 2 hours from La Rochelle. It was supposed to be a neutral ground, and it was completely yellow. There were no Chiefs fans
Uh,
at all. It was just completely one-sided. But I loved the atmosphere. It was incredible. It was a football stadium, and it was huge.
I have looked it up. The Matmut Atlantique.
There
Is
you
that
go.
it? Yeah.
Love playing there. That's one of my favorite places.
Awesome. Favorite gym exercise?
Um, Used to be bench press, but now it's bench pull.
Oh, nice. Okay. Why is that?
I lost some strength on my bench press because of my neck surgery, and now bench pull is my strongest exercise.
Makes sense. I'm okay. I'm interested that bench pull doesn't put a strain on the neck.
It depends on which vertebrae you probably get.
Yeah, okay. Makes sense. How much strength did you lose on your press?
Um, it was on my left arm. I probably lost about 10%, 10, 20%. It
Okay.
was down. It was when I first got injured, I couldn't even lift what I'd warm up on. And then I
Wow.
picked up.
Yeah.
My
But
favourite was beach ball.
it's not gym exercise.
The gym exercise question and the
It's
song
not beach
question
volleyball, yeah?
are usually usually the ones that Chewy ends up a bit rabbit in headlights about.
Hey,
Occupation if rugby didn't exist.
I'll be a photographer.
oh,
Nice.
okay.
I'm
Yeah,
guessing you do a little bit of that in your spare time then.
yeah, I do. I did some yesterday. I'm trying to plan a transition into photography
I was
afterwards.
going to say there's an exciting post-retirement plan.
Yeah,
In any particular field of photography?
I like photographing people.
Hmm.
So brands, maybe a bit of wedding, lifestyle, fashion, that sort of thing.
Okay.
I'd like to mix it up. I wouldn't want to be like one genre because I'd
Yeah.
get so yeah, I like to mix it up.
I have to say I know sod all about photography, but I love when the BBC animal photos of the year that they release once a year. You should do that.
I wouldn't have the time. You've got to sit all day in nature, and I've
Oh
got
God, that's such a good
I've got-
point.
but yeah,
Because I guess like Planet Earth, I know obviously that's video, but they sort of leave the cameras there for like 7 years to get the footage, don't they?
oh yeah, but
Yeah. Yeah.
you've got to be so patient for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, fair
You don't
enough.
get to see a snow leopard every Tuesday afternoon, do you? I mean, it's
Yeah, I've got Tuesday evenings off.
Well, not in Exeter, you don't. Superstition.
I've never been superstitious, but I do make my bed every morning. So if that counts, that's one. But I'm not I used to sit next to Henry Slade and Jack Noel, and they used to have all the superstitions.
Yeah,
Well, I looked at them and like, what are you guys doing? But it seems to work for them. Maybe I should have more superstition.
you make your bed every morning. You can tell you're a bloke, can't you? When that's superstition and not
Yeah,
just
I like pat
a
myself on
prerequisite. Yeah.
the back. Stuff that everyone does. But yeah.
Rugby law you would change.
Um, I get rid of red cards the way they are now. It'd be an ejection, and the sanctions should be to the player. So 20, I guess it'll be 20 minutes off, and then replaced by another player, but
Yeah,
not red card for the whole game.
the entire time. And lastly, best thing about working in rugby.
Um, it's just I guess it's the friends you make along the way. I guess it's the just going to work with a bunch of overgrown children every day. It's
yeah.
pretty tough.
Who don't make their beds in the morning?
Yeah, just me making
You're making everyone's bed every morning.
it.
Right, Ollie, do you mind if we do 5 minutes on Exeter
Yeah, I got
Bristol very, very quickly? Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you for doing that as well. Sorry if I got carried away with follow-up questions, but ended up prolonging it a little bit. Exeter Bristol always has a little bit behind it, I suppose, especially as Bristol start to the season, results-wise, has also not been what they've wanted. As always with Bristol, the star power is there. The danger is perennially there. The atmosphere will be there. How does it sort of, what sort of edge does this game have as an Exeter, an Exeter man?
Well, we we want high standards for ourselves this year, so it's a must win from a league point of view. But we treat every home game, very seriously. We had a very good home record last year, and we want the same this year, whoever it is. But Bristol, they've got a very I'd say different style to us. especially if you see the way they kind of play the ball and which areas they play the ball. It's going to be a kind of a mismatch of styles. So it'll be interesting to see which one comes on top.
Yeah.
They seem to have committed themselves completely to this stuff now, don't they? I mean, it's quite high. It's a bit of a cliche, but crikey, it is high risk, high reward, isn't it?
Yeah, they demand a lot from your defense.
Yeah.
They say we're going to throw it all at you. Can you deal with it? And it's exciting to watch. They're definitely one of the most entertaining teams to watch. But we, well, I'm especially excited to defend against them. You know, we're going to throw a defense at them and ask the same question. So yeah, it could go either way. There could be they could run into brick walls and not get anything, or there might go the other way. But it's exciting.
I mean, from our perspective with Bristol, they're maybe the most enigmatic team in the league, potentially along with Harlequins. And I suppose their last two weekends have kind of shown that against, Bath, who are Premiership finalists, and they turned up with a capital T. And then obviously Gloucester, a game they wouldn't necessarily expect to lose. And credit to Gloucester. They played very well. Credit to Christian Wade. Great to see him back. And, it's like he never left now. But is there a slight feeling of, okay, well, the thing we can't control here is the version of Bristol Bears we're going to get?
Um, I think we know we played them quite a lot last year. We played them 7 times, including warm up, Prem Cup, Premiership, and we learned a lot from them. And I think we came out on top most of those games. So they'll be looking at us as a bit of vendetta there, and I'm sure they've seen us lose a few games on the trot and think there's blood in the water. But I think we know how they want to attack us, and we know how they like to play the game. So I don't think either team will be surprised. I
Yeah.
think who can put their game plan on the game and dominate rather than the other.
You'd have grown up with West Country derbies, Ollie, wouldn't you? I mean, do they still mean that? Do they still have that edge? I mean, the old Bath Bristol games, which you would have been pretty familiar with, I guess,
Hmm.
as a kid. Um, these things always seem. I mean, I'm a West Countryman myself, as you can probably tell. So these things always there always seems to be an edge about those games. There's something quite quite tribal that you don't necessarily get in the whole of rugby. I mean, it's because this is such a big rugby area, really, compared to most
Yeah,
of the rest of the country.
huge rugby area, a lot of cultural significance and history there. It's generational, and also not only is it West Country, like Bristol and Exeter, that kind of the clash to put Exeter in the Prem, and the clash and Bristol, that history as well has added a lot on top of that. And I think we've already always enjoyed playing Bristol over the years, and the fans love it. There's a different atmosphere.
Yeah.
I love playing Bristol. I grew up in Bristol. Um, Always supported Bristol. I was actually supporting Bristol when Exeter beat them, which is funny enough, considering I ended up playing for Exeter. But yeah, they're great for rugby. Bath, Bristol, Gloucester, and then now us in the mix. I think we're putting we play some of the best rugby in the league. So it's always fun for the fans.
Just final question from me. We're playing in I say we're playing, I'm not playing. We have a league whereby a team that loses 6 games can finish top, and a team that loses 7 games can qualify for the final, and a team that, you know, had lost 7 games, lost 8, gets, sort of relegated from third place to seventh place in one in one game. Does that create a lack of jeopardy in your eyes, or rather an attitude whereby, you know, a sequence of losses doesn't feel like your season is turning a certain way?
Yeah, I'd say the latter. It just makes there's everything to play for, and you can help you just focus week to week and not think about. You don't have to think about the playoffs now. You can just think, let's when you're away, let's get some points when we're away, and let's bang in our home games, and let's just treat treat every game week to week and see where we are come May.
Yeah.
And that's it's quite a good mindset to have. It's not like you can get a few games into the season and your whole season's, upended and everyone it's like a horrible place to be. It's like there's something to fight for every week. That's pretty good for mental health and for the game.
Well, we're massively looking forward to that game at the weekend. I'm sure you are as well. And whether the rest of the season you're wearing 13 or you're back on the wing, obviously, look forward to seeing how you go. Just the very final questions, I suppose. How many more years are we going to see Olly Woodburn in the Premiership?
Oof. I don't know. I was feeling pretty good at the moment. I've got a few more at least in the body. I think my body feels good. It might be them see if I can be motivated. I'd say that's the biggest question. But
Yeah.
I'd like to play rugby for a few more years. I don't know where, but I'd like to play rugby at a high level for at least a few more years and see where we're at.
You could be the Jimmy Gopperth of the West Country.
Yeah, I'll be kicking the post soon as well.
Put that on a gravestone. You need to take that record higher so that no one touches it.
Yeah, that's actually I didn't know that, so that's another little bit of motivation actually.
There you go. I've just added another year to your career. Ollie, thank you so much for joining us. Great to meet you, and yeah, all the best for the rest of the season.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for inviting me, guys.
Lovely talking to you, Ollie.
Thanks for listening to this week's edition of the Rugby Paper Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe on whichever podcast platform you use and recommend the show to your friends. The Rugby Paper is available to buy every Sunday, and to make sure you don't miss it, subscribe through our print, digital and online options at therugbypaper.co.uk/subscriptions. That's therugbypaper.co.uk/subscriptions to get all our content for as little as 14p per day.